Now, last night we were joined by Adam Holloway, the Conservative Member of Parliament for Gravesham, who serves on the Home Affairs Select Committee and served in the British Army's Grenadier Guards for 5 years. And it was fascinating because he was right there on the border of Poland and Ukraine. And it did cause, well, Number 10 don't appear to be very happy about the fact that Mr. Holloway is there. Well, he's there today in Ukraine, and I know our connections with Ukraine are not easy, but he's joining this programme exclusively. Adam, can you hear me?
I certainly can, Nigel.
Good. So just tell us, please, what you've seen and what you've heard today.
Well, today I've been meeting senior Ukrainian officials, security officials, and also a general who'd literally just driven out of Kyiv. It had taken him a day. It seems that the situation there is becoming very difficult and that the city is soon to be encircled. He says that there are Russian special forces in the forests around the place, and I think he mentioned a 27-kilometre gap for people to drive in and out. Obviously, I'm not there. I'm in the west of the country, where the war hasn't come here yet. You know, there have been limited missile strikes on military facilities outside where I am. And then there's the regular drumbeat of air raid sirens, and, you know, everyone has to go inside. So I'm not in Kyiv, but it does seem, according to the general that I met today, that, you know, it's becoming a pretty, it's a sort of decisive point. And the point that everybody here is making is that they're not asking us to come and fight this war for them, because we know we can't do that. But what they are asking for is the means to fight the war and to, you know, stop Kyiv falling. Because if Kyiv falls, you know, that makes things very, very difficult in the rest of this country.
I mean, presumably, looking at the determination in the Ukrainian people, and you spoke yesterday about people queuing up and volunteering, I mean, presumably, this could be a very bloody battle. Is it possible, do you think, that Ukraine can hold against such overwhelming force?
Look, you know, there's allegedly a 40-mile convoy of war machines, material of war, a massive logistic chain. I mean, you know, our audience, our populations in Europe, you know, we need to understand this. What's happening here is very, very, very serious indeed. And what the Ukrainians have been saying to me, the consistent message throughout today has been that, you know, they'll do the fighting, but they can't do it without proper air defense, without anti-tank weapons. And I know Britain and other countries have already provided them, but they say they need to be able to stop Russian air power. They've got a shopping list of items, which I won't go through, but it includes old planes, old Soviet-era planes from neighbouring countries. And they talk about creating an anti-Putin alliance. Nobody here is against the Russian people. It doesn't seem to be about that. It seems to be about being against the kleptocracy, as they put it, of the oligarchs. And they also talk about, you know, in the Second World War we had Lend-Lease, where the Americans lent money and leased weapons and machinery to us in the war, but without actually entering the war. And that's the model, I think, that they want the West to adopt in this. But as I say, they'll do the fighting, but what they say is they desperately need the materials.
Adam, as a former soldier, a politician, do you feel we should be doing more than we're doing?
I'm not sure. I don't know what we're doing, because I've been here for, and including travelling, you know, for the last sort of 3 days or so. I know the Prime Minister is taking this incredibly serious. I believe he's been in Poland today. I think I saw some pictures. But, you know, what the West needs to do is get together and just have a think about how we deal with this situation. But I think the nub of it for these people, you know, if they're going to hold Kyiv, then they are going to need supplies from somewhere. And that somewhere has got to be on countries around their border.
And Adam, tell me, are you in much trouble with Number 10?
Do you know, I truly don't know. All I've been doing is trying to maximise my time here to to see and talk to as many people as possible. I think it's completely reasonable for Number 10 to expect members of Parliament and the rest of the public to obey Foreign Office travel advice. But I ignored it in Libya, I've ignored it in northern Iraq in the fight with ISIS, and I ignored it quite a few times during the war in Afghanistan, where we had officials, civil servants, senior people in the MOD telling us that being in Afghanistan was the most marvellous thing to be doing. And some of us, and there are several other MPs who did this, who took the trouble to go there and try and find out a bit of ground truth. We were actually able to say that this was not making a lot of sense. MPs can be outside the sort of the groupthink of the civil service sometimes. And I really think if you're going to stand up in Parliament and talk about these things, you've kind of got to know, what's going on in the world. And because I've been a soldier and a foreign correspondent, I was the ITN correspondent in Sarajevo during the siege for a bit, this is something I can do. I want to make a contribution. They haven't put me in the government. So this is just one thing that I can do, and to try to be useful and not a waste of rations.
I have to say, Adam, you're doing it really very, very well indeed, and I thank you hugely for joining us here exclusively on GB News.